my boyfriend's friends gathering, and they started playing Truth or Dare. The first round had barely begun when the game's challenge immediately aimed at guessing everyone's underwear color. Before I could even frown, I saw his so-called girl bro Chloe laughingly rush over, her fingers deftly undoing Ethan's belt. "I bet my boy's wearing black." Her voice was loud, laced with a hint of triumph. "See? It's black." As she tugged, Ethan's waistband was pulled down slightly, and I could even vaguely glimpse the edge of his underwear, stretched taut. Laughter erupted around us. Some people whistled, others clapped and cheered them on. Chloe, grinning, directly slapped Ethan on his crotch, her tone playful. "Ethan, daring to have naughty thoughts about your daddy? Straighten up." Ethan didn't get angry. Instead, he reached out a large hand, pinching her face, his thumb brushing her chin. His voice was low and husky, a smile playing on his lips. "Say that again? Who are you calling daddy? It'll make you regret it." Believe me, the entire private room erupted in chaos, and no one noticed me, until I let out a soft laugh, set down my glass, and looked around. "Go on, I'm quite interested in seeing it. How about you all?" The moment I spoke, you could hear a pin drop in the private room. All laughter ceased. Ethan looked over with an annoyed expression, his brows tightly furrowed. "Sarah, do you have to be like this? We're just messing around, having some fun among friends. You always monitor me when I scroll through short-form videos. Now you won't even let me play a game with my friends?" I didn't speak. His favoritism was so glaringly obvious. Yet he still felt justified in accusing me. Just then, Chloe's eyes darted around, and she grabbed Ethan's hand, pressing it against her chest, even deliberately rubbing it twice. Ethan's hand didn't immediately withdraw. He flinched, but that hand, which had countless times been intertwined with mine, unconsciously curled its fingers. He thought he was doing a good job of pretending, but he didn't escape my notice. She looked up at me, her big eyes filled with innocence, yet her tone was shamelessly manipulative. "Sister-in-law, I know you think I'm taking advantage of Ethan, and it's normal for a woman to be possessive. I'll let Ethan get his advantage back right now, so please don't be angry." With that, she slapped Ethan on the back of his head. "Hurry up and make up with his girlfriend. I won't be responsible if your girlfriend runs off." Ethan snatched his hand back, but his tone softened a bit. "Sarah, see? Chloe said it herself. We just got carried away playing." It didn't mean anything else. In his eyes, there was no trace of rebuke for Chloe's overstepping behavior, only resentment and blame for my immaturity and for making him lose face. The others in the private room exchanged uneasy glances, then began to chime in, defending her. "Sister-in-law, lighten up a bit. Chloe just has that kind of personality. She's careless with her jokes, but she means no harm." "That's right. You're the first girl Ethan has ever brought to meet us, and you're even getting married. He really values you." Everyone was tacitly protecting the only other woman in the room besides me. They were a tight-knit circle, and I was the insensitive, a spoilsport, and overreacting outsider. I swallowed the lump in my throat, looked up at Ethan, and said each word clearly. "Ethan, let's call off the engagement." With that, I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. Only then did Ethan truly panic. He abruptly stood up and grabbed my wrist, his voice urgent. Sarah, I'm sorry. My tone was bad just now. From now on, I promise I won't play these kinds of games where you can see me, okay? I absolutely won't upset you." Listening to his words, I curled my lips. He still thought it was just about the game. I looked at him with disappointment, even starting to question why I had been with this man for so many years. Just then, Chloe started getting overly dramatic, dropping to her knees before me with a thud and raising her hand to slap her own face. Slap, slap, slap. After a few slaps, her fair cheeks immediately reddened and swelled, a wildly exaggerated performance. "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry, I overstepped today. I shouldn't have been so close to Ethan. From today onwards, I'll keep my distance from him. Consider these slaps my apology to you." With that, she stood up and rushed out of the private room without looking back, but I still heard the words whispered so softly that only I could hear them. She said, "Ethan will always be my dog. You don't believe me? Just wait and see." The private room door slammed shut, and Ethan's grip on my hand suddenly loosened. The panic and worry on his face almost overflowed, and his feet instinctively moved to chase after her. But when our eyes met, he stopped dead in his tracks, that pathetic glimmer of hope in my heart, hoping he would stay. If he had, this time, I might have forgiven him, but he didn't. Sarah. His brows were tightly furrowed, his voice filled with barely suppressed disapproval and blame. are you being a bit too much today? They've been my friends for so many years. You know what Chloe's like, don't you? How am I supposed to face my friends if you act like this? Go home and calm down and think about it yourself. Chloe is impulsive, and when she gets worked up, there's no telling what she might do. I need to go look after her first, to make sure she doesn't get into trouble with that. He didn't spare me another glance, turning away without hesitation and hurrying after her. I stood rigidly in place, finding it utterly ridiculous. The friends behind me, seeing that everyone else had left, dropped their pretense and deliberately raised their voices. This woman has no common sense. She's about to marry Ethan, and she still doesn't know who's in charge. Tell me about it. Chloe's our boss. Besides, Ethan and Chloe grew up together, practically siblings. Her importance in Ethan's heart is unparalleled. I curled my lips, went downstairs, and hailed a taxi. As soon as I got in, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a WhatsApp message from Chloe. It was a video, crystal clear. In the video, Ethan was kneeling on the carpet in a karaoke bar hallway, looking up at Chloe. His face wore an expression I had never seen before, ingratiating, even fawning, his eyes sparkling. He held a fruit platter conjured from somewhere, as if offering a tribute. His voice was unbelievably soft. I'm sorry, Daddy, I'm begging your forgiveness. Please don't be angry, okay? A violent churning sensation rose in my stomach, nausea and despair choking me. Tears, unbidden, rained down on my phone screen, blurring Ethan's face. In our 3 years together, whenever we had an argument, regardless of who was at fault, by the next day, the conflict would automatically evaporate for him. Each time I tried to communicate, wanting an apology or an explanation, he would only fob me off with excuses like, I'm bad with words, I'm an emotionally dense guy, I don't do all those twists and turns. Over time, I actually started to believe him, believed he was naturally insensitive, believed he didn't understand romance, believed he just needed more guidance and tolerance from me. But now, this video slapped me hard, waking me up completely. He wasn't unable to make up with someone. He was simply unwilling to make up with me. His romantic gestures, his willingness to humble himself, all those elaborate rituals his emotionally dense mind supposedly couldn't grasp, he could give them to his girl bro, but not to me. My heart ached as if it were being torn apart. As soon as I got home, I saw a photo album on the entryway cabinet. It was something I had never seen before. A sudden bad feeling welled up inside me. With trembling hands, I almost instinctively opened the album and immediately saw their explicit professional photoshoot album. There were photos of them frolicking on the beach in revealing swimwear. There were photos in the gym, bodies intertwined in tight workout clothes, showcasing their strength. There were quirky couple photos taken at a vintage photo studio, with one of them wearing a wedding dress and the other a suit. The years were clearly marked, a new set every year, without fail, and the most recent set, the shooting date conspicuously displayed, was on our anniversary last year. I distinctly remembered hinting for a long time that I wanted to take a professional photo shoot to commemorate our time together. How did he respond? He frowned, looking confused and even impatient, telling me, these things are a rip-off. Well, take plenty when we get married. Besides, I'm an emotionally dense guy. I really don't understand you women and these ideas. What's the point of all that formality? Finally, he casually ordered me a trending viral cake online, the one with the highest sales, and dismissively said, Happy anniversary. Yet he had the time and energy to take set after set of duo photo shoots with Chloe. In the pictures, the way he looked at Chloe was identical to the fawning expression in the video I'd just seen. I suddenly felt as if something had collapsed. The two of them were doing everything a couple would do, all under the guise of being just friends. Just then, my phone rang. I saw it was Ethan calling. I instinctively pressed the answer button. His voice on the other end was deliberately softened and gentle, yet with a hint of distraction. Sarah, are you home? Don't throw a tantrum. Chloe and I are just friends. I only see her as one of the guys. Don't worry, my heart and soul are all yours. Chloe is very emotionally unstable. I'll stay with her tonight. You take care of yourself, be good. He didn't even give me time to respond before he abruptly hung up. I held my phone, looking at the photos before me, feeling completely cold. My tears had dried up, leaving only a numb ache. I spent a sleepless night, dragging myself up with a heavy head. A dull pain began in my abdomen. At first, I didn't pay attention, but the pain grew more intense, eventually leaving me in a cold sweat that soaked my clothes. After returning from the gathering last night, my emotions had been erratic, and my stomach was empty. Suddenly, my vision went black, and I passed out. With my last conscious thought of survival, I dialed for an ambulance. When I next awoke, the scent of hospital disinfectant filled my nostrils. The surgical incision was throbbing faintly. What had woken me, however, was Ethan's undisguised laughter and admiration. T-esque, T-esque, T-esque. Well done, Chloe. You really share the good stuff with your friend. His voice held a desire he hadn't even noticed himself. That figure? No wonder they say purple is alluring. It's absolutely stunning. I slightly turned my head and saw Ethan's back to my hospital bed. Looking down at his phone, on the screen, Chloe had sent a series of suggestive videos. In the videos, Chloe wore an extremely form-fitting purple lace nightgown, every movement perfectly accentuating her curves, tantalizingly revealing, full of provocative allure. Ethan was utterly engrossed. Not even noticing I had woken up, he clicked on Chloe's latest voice message. How's it going, my boy? Your daddy's got some good stuff, right? Sarah won't show you, but daddy will. Hurry up and thank daddy. Ethan immediately sent a voice message back. Thanks, daddy. I like period costume allure. Send me a couple of sets to see. I'll pay for it. In that moment, lying on the hospital bed, listening to my fiancée's genuine praise for another woman's explicit videos, I felt utterly despondent. I struggled to speak, my voice remarkably cold. Ethan, is your daddy dead? Does he know you're adopting daddies outside? Ethan spun around abruptly, a flicker of panic on his face, instinctively pressing his phone screen off. But the embarrassment of being caught was quickly replaced by annoyance. Sarah, why didn't you say anything when you woke up? He walked over, trying to touch my forehead. How are you feeling? The doctor said you had colitis. The surgery was successful. It's nothing serious. I turned my head, avoiding his touch. The incision stung from the movement, but it was a fraction of the pain in my heart. I looked at him, almost laughing. So you can savor intimate videos of your girl bro right by my hospital bed, even discussing fetish outfits and reimbursement. He choked on my blunt words, his face darkening. Can't you say things less harshly? Chloe just has that kind of personality, outgoing, generous, loves to joke around. She doesn't mean anything bad by it, you know. That's just how we've always interacted. We can't just change how we interact because you came along. What kind of sense does that make? I don't know. I interrupted him, my voice so calm it surprised even me. I only know that my fiancé, the man I'm about to give my life to, is drooling over another woman's sexy videos and desperately wanting more, right beside my bed after I just had surgery. I only know that you, who never makes up with anyone, can actually get on your knees and apologize to make another woman happy. Yet you fob me off with excuses about being an emotionally dense guy. I only know that the couple's professional photo shoots I longed for, you two take every single year. Wearing those revealing outfits, posing so intimately. Ethan, which way of interacting are you talking about? Is this the way friends interact between a man and a woman? Sarah, his voice suddenly rose. Do you have to be so demanding? I put aside what I was doing over there to come be with you. Chloe is home alone and emotionally unstable. She needs this to relax. Aren't I here looking after you? What more do you want from me? I caught the information in his words over there. So, you were at her home last night? Relaxing, all night? Ethan's eyes darted around, and his voice softened, using his usual evasive tone. Sarah, don't overthink things. She just drank too much and was crying uncontrollably. I was worried something might happen to her. So I stayed with her on the living room sofa all night. Don't you know who's in my heart? I only love you. It was the same old routine, always like this, a dismissive explanation, then turning the tables and saying I was overthinking things, followed by a cheap sugar-coated lie. If it were before, I might have believed him, or rather, I might have chosen not to think too deeply, deceiving myself. But now, the images from those photo shoots, the video of him kneeling and calling her daddy to apologize, and his glowing eyes and urgent tone when looking at the suggestive videos all proved that the past me was a complete fool. But thankfully, I wasn't yet trapped in marriage and that swamp. Everything could still be seen as a blessing. I looked at his anxious, defensive face and suddenly felt utterly exhausted, without even the strength to argue. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, but in Ethan's eyes, my reaction meant that the matter was settled. He curled his lips and pressed a kiss to my forehead. I knew you were the most understanding. Sarah, I'll go call the doctor now to see what we need to watch out for. The ward door closed, and I disgustedly wiped my forehead with my sleeve. After returned, he had barely been back in the room for a few seconds when his phone rang again. He opened it, and upon seeing the new message, his ears turned red. "Sarah, I have a major client at my company who needs me there right now. Take care of yourself, and if it's inconvenient, please hire a private nurse for yourself." With that, he turned and left. I watched his retreating back, a bitter smile on my face, tears tracing a path across my nose and into my hairline. I whispered, in a voice only I could hear, "Ethan, we're over." During my week in the hospital, I didn't initiate contact with Ethan, but I occasionally answered his calls, giving brief, flat responses. His messages were nothing more than excuses about difficult clients and how busy he was, promising to visit me once he was free. He visited a few times, always in a hurry, carrying a faint perfume scent that wasn't mine. Sit by my bed, talking to me, but his eyes would always drift to his phone, giving distracted greetings before being called away by various urgent work calls. I couldn't be bothered to expose him, nor did I tell him that I had already seen everything on Chloe's social media platform. I knew exactly what they were doing every day. I watched his performance calmly, my heart completely unmoved. All those past conflicts that I couldn't move past. This time, they were truly, thoroughly in the past. The incision was healing, and so was my heart. On the day I was discharged, I handled the paperwork myself, packed my few belongings, and took a taxi home. Everything in the apartment was exactly as I had left it. This meant Ethan hadn't been home during this time. This apartment was one I had bought in full with my own money after I started working. It was solely in my name. It belonged completely to me. I calmly gathered Ethan's things, the men's slippers in the entryway, the razor, toothbrush, and pajamas in the bathroom, and put them all into a cardboard box, placing it by the door. I also changed the apartment's keyless entry system. I didn't immediately tell my parents about my intention to call off the engagement or my hospital stay. It wasn't until a few days later that my mom called, excitedly discussing wedding preparations and asking how my wedding dress fitting went. Listening to the hopeful voice on the other end of the line, my nose stung. I took a deep breath and, trying to keep my voice steady, said, "Mom, I'm not going to marry Ethan." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. To my surprise, my mom didn't press for details. Instead, she said, "If you don't want to marry him, then don't. Your dad's friends sent over some crabs a few days ago. They're still alive. Come home, and I'll make them for you. The rest, leave it to your dad." While my family wasn't ultra wealthy, we certainly had some assets. My family was the largest investor in Ethan's startup company, and the next round of substantial investment was planned to be signed after the wedding. With the engagement now called off, this investment naturally fell through. After hanging up, I entrusted my apartment to a real estate agent, bought the soonest plane ticket, and went home. I blocked all of Ethan's contact information and kept my surgery a secret. But parents are always so astute, able to detect their children's pain, both physical and emotional. After seeing my medical report from the hospital, they said nothing more, simply focusing on helping me recover. Only when I regained my color did they finally relax. My dad was always decisive and 100% protective of his family. He didn't ask me why, nor did he directly confront Ethan. Instead, through the company's legal department, he officially terminated the investment in Ethan's company, citing a readjustment in investment strategy. Without this funding, Ethan would struggle to get his company off the ground. My childhood friends organized a gathering after they learned I was back. Just a few minutes after I entered my home, there was a knock at the door. Looking at the video intercom, I saw Ethan and Chloe standing outside. "Sarah, please open the door, okay? I know you're angry. Please give me a chance to make amends, okay?" Before I could speak, the man beside me beat me to it and opened the door. Ethan immediately knelt down, his head bowed, apologizing. "Sarah, I'm sorry." He looked up and, meeting the man's gaze, Ethan bristled. "Who are you?" Ethan knelt on the floor, his face flushed. Julian glanced at me, saw I was unmoved, and slightly raised his lips. "Whoever you think I am, that's who I am. But you don't need to be so formal, giving me such a grand kneeling bow the first time we meet. You may rise." No sooner had he spoken than my parents also came downstairs, drawn by the noise. Upon seeing Ethan and Chloe, my mom's eyes instantly welled up. Chloe, sensing the tense atmosphere, added fuel to the fire. Tugging Ethan's arm and helping him stand, she said sarcastically, "My boy, are you stupid or just insane? It's obvious you're being played. She never intended to marry you. Come on, Daddy will find you someone hotter and more fun." With that, she tried to pull Ethan away, but this time, Ethan didn't listen to her. He angrily shook her off. Ethan glared at her coldly, his voice icy. "Enough, Chloe. I always stood up for you whenever you got into trouble. What is this supposed to mean now? Do you know how important Sarah is to me? I only want to marry her, and I can only marry her in this lifetime." He looked up at me and said, "Sarah, I truly understand I was wrong. I shouldn't have neglected you. My company has been so busy lately. Knowing you unilaterally called off the wedding, I didn't even shave. I drove here all night. Can't we just stop this argument?" As he spoke, his tone was sincere, and amidst his panic, there was a hint of love. I knew that this tiny bit of love was real because besides the emotional validation, he had indeed given me some so-called genuine affection. But now, this tiny bit of love was no longer enough to sustain a lifetime with him. "Ethan, how dare you say my daughter is throwing a tantrum? As a man, you can't control your eyes or your primal urges, and you still have the audacity to say my daughter is throwing a tantrum." My dad, usually not one for words, suddenly stepped in front of me, cutting me off like a mighty tree. He made me feel secure, and my eyes welled up. Chloe immediately defended Ethan. "Uncle, you can't just slander Ethan like that because you're the girl's father." My mom followed suit, throwing the photo album directly at Chloe's face. "Slander? You're so young, flaunting your so-called pure friendship with a man who's about to get married, taking these pictures. Don't you find it disgusting? Do you think you're some kind of prize? Aura has always been a self-respecting and dignified girl. If you have those kinds of feelings for a man, just say it directly. Aura would never fight over garbage." Ethan looked at the professional photo shoot album lying on the floor, his face instantly pale, his voice was choked. "It's not like that, Sarah. We were really just taking pictures. Nothing ever crossed the line." I looked at him, a cold laugh escaping me. "Cross the line? Does it only count as crossing the line if you're sleeping together and getting intimate?" "Sarah, that's enough. Stop pretending." Chloe interrupted me, turning to look at Ethan with a serious and affectionate expression. "Ethan, I like you. I've liked you since I first fell in love. It's been 10 years now. Today, you choose between me and Sarah." Everyone was bewildered by Chloe's move and stood frozen. Ethan met Chloe's eyes, his gaze somewhat confused. "What are you talking about, Chloe? I've never had romantic feelings for you. I only see you as a friend." Chloe hadn't expected Ethan to respond so quickly. With almost no hesitation, her face flushed, and tears instantly streamed down. She abandoned her usual carefree demeanor, crying tearfully and dramatically, and demanded loudly, "Then what was our drunk kissing? What about when you made me wear those revealing outfits? What about all those nights we spent together?" With each sentence she spoke, Ethan's face grew darker. It wasn't until Chloe started punching him in the chest, fist after fist, that Ethan finally roared, "Chloe, that's enough. I told you back then. We were just friends, a no-strings-attached arrangement. We both enjoyed ourselves, didn't we? What do you mean by all this now? I'm telling you, between you and Sarah, Sarah will always be superior." Then, ignoring Chloe's pale face, he turned to my parents and said, "Uncle, Aunt, I've come here today to sincerely apologize. The wedding will go on, and our two families' partnership will also continue." He looked at me with an expression of deep affection, his voice sickening me. "Sarah, as long as you forgive me, all those rituals, all that emotional validation, I will make up for it all. From now on, it'll settle down, and in this lifetime, there will only be one woman for me. You." Julian's lips twitched into a smile. He clapped his hands and laughed. I've truly never seen anyone describe shamelessness so elegantly. Since Chen is so deeply engrossed in nurturing his physical relationships with his friends, he must surely have no time for his career, right? So, out of humanitarian concern, I'll let Mr. Chen take a good rest. With that, Julian took out his phone and typed a message. Ethan hadn't yet fully processed Julian's words when his phone vibrated incessantly like a death knell, call after call, message after message. In addition to the Huang family withdrawing their investment, several major shareholders also called, their voices cold, stating their intention to pull out, even at the cost of paying breach of contract fees. Ethan suddenly looked up, his bloodshot eyes fixed on me. Filled with despair and a final, desperate plea, he lunged forward but was blocked by Julian. Sarah, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong." His voice was hoarse, almost a howl, completely devoid of his usual composure. I felt as if I was seeing the fragmented self I had become over the years because of his emotional neglect. I had cried countless times in the dead of night, doubting myself. Give me another chance. Just one, please. I know I was wrong. I'll die without you. My company can't collapse. That's years of my hard work. You saw it yourself. Looking at him, tear-streaked and completely losing his composure, I felt an extraordinary calm. I stepped forward and raised my hand. Slap, a loud, stinging slap landed hard on his face, cutting off all his words. The entire air grew silent. I shook my numb hand, my voice calm and unwavering. Yet every word resonated with truth. Ethan, you say you can't live without me. But in reality, it's your company that can't live without me. If you truly couldn't live without me, then in a relationship, even if your nature were malicious, you would still be faithful. This slap is for your faithlessness, your lack of boundaries. From this day forward, there is nothing left between us. Get out. Don't dirty my home. The neighborhood security guards immediately arrived, dragging Ethan away and throwing him out of my home. From that day on, Ethan's company teetered on the brink of crisis, threatening to collapse at any moment. He returned to my apartment to find his belongings tossed out by the door like trash. The apartment's owner had also changed. He tried to reach out to his old friends for help, even splurging on a luxurious private room. To prevent anyone from noticing the shift in his relationship with Chloe, he invited her too. As he reached the private room door and pushed it open slightly, the few people who had been laughing uproariously instantly fell silent. Chloe, who usually clung to him, was sitting next to his best friend. He merely thought Chloe was throwing a tantrum, then addressed the others. Friends, my company's run into some trouble recently. If any of you have funds, please help me out. Just transfer it to my account. With that, the private room became dead silent. No one answered his question. Instead, everyone exchanged uneasy glances, looking at Chloe. Chloe, eating grapes that the friend beside her was peeling, frowned. Seriously? He's asking you for money. Why are you looking at me? The friends, as if given a cue, started to laugh. Ethan, you know, my dad manages all my money. I only have the right to spend, not to lend. Ethan, I just bought a new car. I don't have much money on hand either. Me too. My mom found me an arranged match and told me to go home and get married. They're asking for a significant financial commitment. Ethan watched his former drinking and gaming buddies start being evasive and making excuses, isolating him. He suddenly burst out laughing. He tightened his grip on the bottle, clenched his jaw, and looked at Chloe with icy eyes. Chloe, after all these years of friendship, you're really going to treat me like this? Chloe took a tissue to wipe her hands, blinking innocently at Ethan and laughed. Ethan, what do you mean by that? What have I done to you? My friends' money isn't my money. They're the ones not lending you money, not me. You can't just take it, can you? A surge of anger rushed to Ethan's head, and he smashed a bottle against Chloe's head. Then he swore, you damn slut. What are you pretending for? Why didn't you say that when you were screaming my name? The bottle shattered, and the surrounding friends froze in place. Crimson blood flowed from her hairline. Chloe reached up to touch it, screaming, Ethan, you good for nothing. How dare you hit me? Her screaming successfully ignited the last suppressed flicker of resentment in Ethan's heart. He picked up another bottle nearby and repeatedly smashed it against her head. He didn't stop until blood splattered and she fell silent. Ethan was sentenced to 7 years in prison for intentional homicide, and Chloe, due to alcohol consumption and severe head trauma, died instantly. When I received this news, I had already completed my procedures for studying abroad. The day I left was early autumn. Yellow leaves drifted from the branches. It signaled that once winter passed, spring would surely arrive, and I too was finally saying goodbye to my past. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comment section.